I think you agree that the first thing that gives you a problem in Australia is Aussie accent. The way people speak in Australia is very different to the way we understand English from countries where we come from. And actually, it's very different from what you see in the movies and just what you see generally from people who speak English. There are so many different types of accents, and this matters for you if you're going to write the International Second Language Proficiency Rating. Why? Because you do not know what accent you'll be exposed to. So today, I'm going to talk about different types of accents, and then I'm going to talk about which ones to focus on, which ones you should learn, and where you can actually find those accents, okay? So if you are interested in learning about this as you prepare for your listening International Second Language Proficiency Rating test, then this is your video. So without wasting much of your time, let's get started. Succeeding in the listening test does not only depend on understanding the facts, information being given by the speakers, it also borders on whether you understand the accent they are using. Now, before we even go any further, I was given two audios to listen to. The first one was a child speaking. The second one was teachers discussing, not in the classroom, not in the formal setup, but they just sat in the staff room speaking Aussie accent, right? So this is where, yeah, you need to understand different types of accents. So it's very important to expose yourself to different accents and then see how that can help you. So let's continue. Okay, before we go any further, let's look at a snapshot of Australian accents. The first one, most of you, the first one you'll be exposed to academic lectures and seminars. Now, because you are in an academic environment, the language is academic, the language is formal, and you'll be exposed to lecturers who are going to enunciate the words when they speak. They are going to make words clear for you to understand because it is just part of that culture. In academic institutions, there is a way that lecturers speak, and in most cases, you will be able to understand because it's clear, words are articulate, there is no cutting and chopping of words. The second one is professional work conversations or workplace conversations. Now, I'll tell you the truth. Most of you know that where you are working right now, you are not using formal language, even though you are working in a formal place. Obviously, when you're having normal conversations with your workmates, you are not speaking formal English. You are speaking just workplace conversation style of English. And that might be a bit confusing for some of you and for people like me, because that's a different style. The third one is informal and street level language. Street level language is bad. In all honest, Australians chop words. If they don't chop words, then they are going to just change them. I'll give you I'll give you examples. A barbecue is Barbie, right? So if they talk about barbecue, they're talking about Barbie. If they're talking about service station or filling station, it's called servo. Afternoon is avo. And obviously teenagers are going to clip and vowels and elude consonants. And when they talk, when they say mate, hey going mate, like it's how are you going mate? You don't even know like how are you going mate changes to hey going mate. You know what I mean? So that is what you find on the street, and you don't find complete words like something. You find something like something. So this is where you find the true street language. It's street level language, and it's yeah, it's very important to know about this language, because you don't know what kind of passage you are going to receive. Like I said, for me, sorry, not the passage, the audio I was made to listen to was in the classroom setup, but teachers were not teaching, so they were not using formal English. They were using street language while at work. So yes, you may say, but why are you making us, think about these different accents? You just never know. The other one, children's speech patterns. The way children speak is different from the way adults speak. And therefore, you need to know, at least listen to young people in Australia speak, especially those who speak English as their first language. Why? For me, I was given to listen to a child, and the child was explaining something about a fundraiser. You can see how I was made to just listen to a child and then deduce what she was saying. Fortunately for me, I had listened to a lot of children in Australia, so I got used to their accent, and it was easy for me to understand. But in all honest, it's very important that you understand something about children's accents. The last one is regional and rural varieties. Now, I'll tell you, in Australia, I've lived in Sydney, Newcastle, and now in Alice Springs. I'll start with New South Wales. When I was in New South Wales in Newcastle, there was a variety of English that was spoken. And I was so adventurous. I would go to places like Kari Kari. I'm sure those of you that live in Newcastle or have lived in Newcastle, you know Kari Kari. Or places like Cessnock, right? Which were a bit far from the city. They were also towns, but yeah, smaller. The variety of English that they were spoken, especially in Kari Kari and Cessnock area, it's like people don't open their mouth. They'll be speaking to you and they'll sound something like, you were just coming here, you found. Like, you were coming here, and when you were coming here, you were found, right? You were coming here, and when you came here, you were found. Like, found, like, I just don't know, but that's the thing. So you don't know, maybe the variety of English you're going to listen to is someone from an area like that. But to be fair, the exam always brings to you something that's very close to formal. So yes, I've mentioned about all these things, but the examiner will choose an audio that's close to formal English, which you can easily understand, okay? Which you can easily understand. But I'm saying there is no harm if you went through all these types of accents just to see the variety of accents that you may be exposed, or you may be made to listen to in the exam, okay? Okay, let me go to 5 strategies that you can use. Number 1, build a rich context of listening library. Listen to radio station like ABC, Faith, whatever radio station in Australia that you can listen to those, because when you're listening to radio stations, there'll be the presenters, obviously, are going to speak normal English. Others will chop the words like sausages, but expose yourself to that. And then there will be callers who will be calling or phoning in, and those who speak street language, in all honest, and because they'll speak street language, you need to be to just get used to listening to that hard accent, so that when you are in the exam, if you're going to listen to formal English, you are going to stand a better chance. It's very easy to develop an Aussie ear for different accents if you do that. Secondly, foreshadowing, contextualize foreshadowing. How do you do this? Foreshadowing is like listening. Let me just give you this. Move beyond generic shadowing by imitating clips from each context in real time. So when the clip is playing, you also speak at the same time. So if maybe in this the speaker is saying, "Hey, going mad, are we going to meet at the same there before we go?" You also try to do that. But maybe listen to ABC News or ABC podcasts and do that. Just practice your accent, because if you do that, then you can predict what someone is going to say. Now, if you are with me up to this point, I'm asking you if you can firstly subscribe to my channel and help me grow this channel so that I can help you and others that have not yet written this exam. Secondly, you can read what I'm talking about with more examples in the blog post that I have written, and you will get more examples. You just click in the description box, there'll be a link for you. Okay, let's continue. Another thing that you can do is you can annotate transcripts by speaker type. For example, to annotate is just like to, to put together or to arrange, or if you are in the library, you can say, okay, this section is for people who speak for books like this, or in this case, say people who speak typical Aussie street language, put them together. People who speak like formal English, put them together and listen to those so that you can begin to see the differences. You can also go to where games are being played and listen to the way people are speaking. Go to where children are playing and listen to the way children speak. And then for these accents, lastly, I would recommend that you simulate test conditions. For example, find a clip, right? Find a clip. Let's say a 5 minutes clip or 2 minutes clip, audio clip that is, and then start asking yourself questions like, listen to it once and ask yourself, what is the purpose of this? What are they saying? And you can write down the points just to make sure you understand, and then you begin to practice like that. Just practice listening and writing points, listening and writing points. Okay, if you apply these points, you are going to be ready for the exam. I can assure you, because the exam is very unpredictable and you always don't just know who you are going to find and the audio that they are going to give you. Okay, so just be ready for the different accents, because if you don't understand the accent, then you don't understand the message. If you don't understand the message, then you cannot answer the questions that follow after. And by the way, I've always said that with International Second Language Proficiency Rating Test, you are going to be asked to talk about what you're going to hear. So there's no writing. It's just you explaining, right? And that is where it becomes a problem, because you have to talk right before the examiner, and if you have forgotten, she or he will see that you have forgotten something or you didn't understand something there and then. And there's no bad feeling, or there's no worse feeling than the feeling to know that the examiner knows that I didn't understand because I'm speaking to them and I can't answer the question they are asking me. So exposing yourself to different accents is the best you can do for yourself. Okay, thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.